Hi, this is Barbara Boshin, and welcome to another meetup slash webinar. Really excited tonight about our guest. I'm from Co-Merchant, and we offer software to relist to Walmart and also to automatically keyword your listings. Chakra.
Yeah, we own Jungle Books. It's a boutique accounting and finance firm helping Amazon sellers with their bookkeeping and taxes.
He knows how to do Amazon numbers. That's a big question I get a lot. It's like, do you know a CPA that gets Amazon? Do you know an account that gets Amazon? And it's crazy trying to make all those numbers match. Well, I'm really excited tonight because I got a lot of people signing up for this webinar, and actually a lot of people attending. Usually a lot of people sign up and then, they wait for the recording. But tonight I think we're all live in this state of continuing fear and disbelief. I'm not sure what the right words are, but Jeff Schick is here, and he's from Ecom Attorneys, and he'll also be talking to us about seller basics at the end of the call. For those of you who don't know him and know Paul Rafelson, who's also sitting in, these guys are the attorneys for Amazon. They'll help you get, if you want to get a trademark, if you want to protect your listing, if you want to fight back against suspension. They have a big to do with all the sales tax, and I know I'm not supposed to talk about that too much, but thank you again. So welcome, and we're just gonna talk about what's going on in Amazon land, and it's a very unique place.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me, Barbara and Chakra. It's nice to join you guys, and yes, we get to talk about Amazon. So just share some of the trends we're seeing on Amazon right now, and things to focus on, things to work on, and then obviously how to prevent your account from getting suspended, which is always on everybody's mind because nobody likes getting that dreaded 3 a.m. or 7 p.m. Email saying that you've got you're suspended at 3 a.m. or 72 hours from 6 p.m. on a Friday to get the plan of action in or to prevent suspension.
Yeah, I got suspended in the days before you ever knew you did anything wrong. You had 100% feedback, 5 stars, and all of a sudden you're like, what happened? You didn't tell me that was a problem.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see the evolution on Amazon. So a little bit of my story, I started selling on June 11th of 2011, and so I'm almost able to say that I've been on Amazon for a decade. So give me 2 weeks and then I'll be able to say that. But 2 weeks from tomorrow. And so I started selling then. And so it over the years evolved. So in 2012, I remember walking back from class and getting a phone call from a 206 area code, which is the Seattle, Washington area code that Amazon used to call from when the teams were located in the United States. And I remember this person calling from Seller Performance, and he was letting me know that I had violated the case pack rule. And he wanted to know if I was near a computer. So I pulled out my laptop and open Seller Central. He goes, you're going to type in a string of numbers, started with a G. What it turned out, it was actually a help page. And so he had me read the case pack policy to him. He goes, you know why we have an issue? I'm like, there's a couple things running through my mind, but I don't want to admit to any of them. And so he goes, well, on this one product you're selling, it comes in a pack of 12, but you're saying it's a pack of 72, which both of them were technically and legally correct because there was 12 packs in one case. So I just had a case of 72, so it wouldn't split it up to go to multiple warehouses. And so I would send it in. And so he was saying, he's like, you need to start doing it as cases of 12 and split it up for us to go to different warehouses. He's like, as long as you can commit to that, then we figured out the root cause, and your corrective action is going to be to change this. He's like, and going forward, you're going to review the case pack whenever you're listing a product. So I'm going to consider this closed. And little did I know that we were writing in POA on the phone.
What year was this?
2012. So
I got suspended in 2014. They didn't have any nice people then. They must have put them away. Well, they changed the rule and thousands of people were suspended. But yeah, I would have been happy with that. I would say, yes, I'll do whatever you want. But yeah, nobody told me.
Exactly. So it's amazing how things changed though, because it had been, so that was 2012. Fast forward to, a couple of years, and my next issue with Amazon happened in 2016, and it was that I had got a used sold as new claim. And so I get this used sold as new claim. I happen to know that there was a lawyer in the Amazon space, and so I reached out, I paid $2,000 and got my listing reinstated. But after that, I was like, wow, that was a lot of money for, you know, a somewhat simple appeal. And so I started, thinking there's got to be a better way. And so then fast forward a couple more months, and then my entire account gets suspended. And same lawyer, $5,000 for a priority suspension. I ended up doing it myself, and I got myself reinstated. In a short amount of time. I was lucky. I'm a really strong writer, so I kind of used the used sold as new claim as a guide and figured out what needed to be said. And so the end result was that I got reinstated. I saved $5,000, but I came out of that situation realizing that no one should ever have to go between make a decision between saving their business and eating dinner and feeding their family and everything else. And so
paying your rent.
Right. So that was really eye-opening. And so then I was really fortunate. So after I graduated, I met Paul, and we set on a mission to be different. And so that's, where things like Seller Basics came about, because we're trying to be different. So,
Nice.
So that's a little bit of my story. Let's fast forward to 2021 and what we're seeing now. So this past week has been interesting. We haven't had many suspensions over the last, since the beginning of May, up until this week. And then this week, Amazon started knocking on people's doors again. So seems to be the big thing they're suspending people for this week is restricted products in foreign marketplaces. So if you're selling in Canada or Mexico, you really need to make sure you know what products are legal to sell there. So for instance, over-the-counter medicine in Canada must be in both English and French. A lot of products that are bought at Walmart are in English and Spanish. The problem is that Canadians don't speak Spanish. So,
well, yeah, there's a Canadian rule that everything has to be in French, even if they do speak Spanish.
Probably so.
And something Canadians really are, it's really important to them, especially in Quebec.
Yes. So if you're selling a product in Canada and it doesn't have French, reevaluate whether you want to sell that product, especially if it's something that instructions are necessary. So supplements. The other big thing is that Health Canada has made a lot of ingredients that are totally normal in the United States, like, aspirin and Tylenol. Those are normal over-the-counter supplements in the United States. They're actually prescription ingredients in Canada. So lots of suspensions for that because of selling products that are considered illegal drugs in Canada. So just goes to show.
Now, if you're using so my account, the only thing I've bothered with Canadian, with Canada and Mexico is what Amazon has told me they wanted to move over. And yet, of course, I got IP issues for 5 things that are okay in the US, but all of a sudden they're over there. And I was just like, and it was horrendous because what they wanted me to do was think it was I'm going to use brand names people would recognize because this was a brand name that most wouldn't. But think of let's say Mattel is selling Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Right. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles isn't a company that makes product. They are a licensed company. So They wanted me to get the letter from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that authorized Mattel to then authorize me to sell it. So I just said, you know what, for the one sale I'm gonna get in Canada, delete.
Exactly.
Problem gone. But I was like, that's not even making sense, guys. And I fought with them a little while just on principle. And then I was just like, just go away.
Yeah. Sometimes when you get caught up in those IP claims, it's, the key thing about IP claims is, we'll get to that in a second, because that's the most common reason people get suspended in a normal month is IP claims. And, so we'll get there in just a second. But IP claims, if you don't have the brand authorization letter to allow you to sell it, it's going to be extremely, or an invoice that's acceptable to Amazon, it's going to be extremely difficult to DIY an IP claim. So it's sometimes, you can also, with IP claims, you have to be really careful about appeals, because even just the slightest mismatch between the brand that's on your invoice and the brand that's listed on the product detail page can cause them to deactivate your account.
So I've suggested to a lot of people when they open an account. So, I'm encouraging people to move away from RA when asked. I don't actively go out and tell people that, but it's just so problematic. And you know what, if you're willing to deal with it, you can deal with it. But to me, there's better choices. But one of the things that I'm saying is when you get an open account with a vendor, you want to get an authorization letter in addition to the invoices that has your name on it, your business name, preferably your Amazon seller ID if you can get it on, you want to put that on there, whatever you can get
Right.
them to put on there so that you can say, hey, I have a letter of authorization just to back it up. I don't know if that's wasting people's time or not, but it's something I've done.
It's certainly a good idea, because if they are going to the trouble of giving you that, then it helps you know that they're not going to just file a bogus IP complaint against you in the future. So, because unfortunately a lot, I was telling a seller today, because, part of our strategy with dealing with IP claims through Seller Basics is that, we send cease and desist letters to the brand, and they're based on law, not hypothetical stuff. And so we send these cease and desist letters, and they're like, well, what if the brand gets a lawyer because you're sending them a cease and desist letter? I said, I would prefer that, because I would much rather deal with an attorney any day at one of these brands than somebody in marketing who has no clue.
That doesn't understand the different, like how many IP claims are there? And like, you can't make an IP claim because there's no IP infringement.
Right. But you wouldn't believe how many marketing gurus turned Facebook lawyers we deal with on a daily basis when we're handling.
I've met lawyers that think that they're doing the right thing too. I'm like, you're making fraudulent claims and you know better.
We school them a little bit. It's always fun. So yeah. So the big things to watch out for this week, at least: restricted products. Check your foreign marketplaces. Check Canada. Check Mexico. Deleting an item in the United States does not necessarily delete it in Canada. Deleting it in Canada does not necessarily delete it in Mexico. So make sure you know what you're selling. That's the big one that I've been dealing with this week. As always, the number one reason people get suspended is IP claims. So dealing with IP claims quickly is important, especially counterfeit. And if you have an IP claim where they did a test buy and then did an IP claim, there's 95% chance you're going to get suspended at some point. So you want to deal with that one yesterday. So
when I look in my account health, which I'm looking at right now on another screen, there's hard issues and there's soft issues. Is that a true statement? I just perceive that, but I don't know that that's true.
So there's hard IP complaints, which are the received intellectual property complaints. Soft IP complaints in the name of suspected IP complaints. To date, we've only had one seller get suspended for suspected IP complaints, but that was because 2,500 of them. Not a typical number that people have. And
How
Amazon,
many did he have?
2,500.
Oh, good Lord.
And Amazon did call him on a Friday.
Oh, that was Mike. Mike says that was him.
Oh, so
it wasn't me, but I've had a suspension for suspected IP in the same kind of realm. I've had a suspension for a low amount, but I do print on demand. So one of the t-shirts had a word on it that you wouldn't really recognize, but it was actually a Gucci sub brand, and so that was suspected, and we didn't deal with it, so I got suspended for that one.
Gotcha. Were you suspended on Amazon.com or on the merch side of things?
.com. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then there's and then there's also, now they added on April 1st a new type of soft authenticity. So there's suspected authenticity and real authenticity complaints. Those ones also important to watch.
Is that product authenticity customer complaints? Is that the new one?
So that's been there. That's the title, but within it, when you click on it, there's now product authenticity complaints, which is hard, and then there's suspected product authenticity, which is the soft.
I haven't had I don't pay attention unless it has a little number there. I look at it every day. I wake up and the first thing I do, I'm like, do I want to have coffee first? I need coffee. All right, I'll have coffee first, and then I'll click and see what nonsense I have to deal with today. And then it's nothing.
And if you don't have a number there, there's a couple of times we've had people where you click on it and there's actually something there, but that's really rare. It doesn't happen all that often, so it wouldn't be.
Don't say things like that, Jeff. I don't want to. I don't have to click all these damn buttons.
Are they sending emails for those, or do they just show up in there quietly?
Usually they send emails, but unfortunately, that's not always the case. So sometimes things just show up and it's not a nice little surprise just sitting there.
I've had things show up and disappear on their own. So I give them an hour or two before I pay. I said, all right, I'm going to get to that around noon.
Yeah.
But, then the alarm sounds like 5-alarm fire. Anytime there's something in there, it's 5-alarm fire. I'm just like, it has to go. I don't like it sitting on my back, but.
Yeah. Product safety testing. If you ever get a food or product safety issues, suspension on ASIN suspension, really important is you have to have ample product safety testing from a third-party ISO certified lab. So Amazon doesn't necessarily tell you that, but you can submit the best appeals, and 9 times out of 10 they're going to reject them unless you've got that product safety testing showing the product is safe. So just something to be aware of.
We had altogether about 200 over the last 6 months.
Okay.
I've cleared all but 11.
Nice.
And they won't take, I think the testing, like these products that my vendor has that they bought and didn't really take off. So they've got testing from 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
So we want newer testing, but there's no reason to have newer testing because it's the same products from that batch. But, I can't tell anybody anything. And then also they want bundle components. They want testing on the bundle parts that don't require testing, but, nobody told them to read the compliance documentation. So.
Yeah, that's common. To
get a picket fight. It's like those. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll just get rid of that one. But now we're just waiting for our vendor to run all their tests over.
Well, even with the bundles, I still recommend getting the testing because it can be very cheap to get it. We have a lab in Massachusetts that we use a lot that charges, sometimes as low as $300 for safety testing. And so if you're selling a bundle that's got any sort of traction, it's worth it just to go ahead and get the testing done in your name so that you've got that whole.
I did not know that you could, right? I did not know that I could do that. I thought it had to be in the vendor's name. It's books. And
the bundles, it depends on who created the bundle. It is an event created bundle, or if it's you, then it's in your brand.
But it's in their brand name. It's a branded bundle. Since the primary product is a toy, and then we put a book with it, and then boom. Some of them that understand the law, and some of them they don't. There was an amendment.
You have to be careful with that. Does expose you to IP claims. You do have to be careful there. Because unless the brand has given you written authorization to create,
I get written authorization to. I'm a good girl. I'm a good girl. I am.
Because the thing is, a lot of people are making bundles, but they don't get that authorization because they're making bundles themselves, and it's fine. You can do that, but you can't use a brand.
You want to use generic or something. But even though Amazon tells you that the major product in there, if it's a brand, is supposed to be like if you have a $40 teddy bear and a $2 book, it should be in the brand name of that teddy bear. That's what their TOS says, but.
Right. Unfortunately, I've seen it go wrong. The other big thing is you don't want to bundle products from competitors. So like
Coke and Pepsi.
Yeah. You don't want a Sprite and a Pepsi bundled together. That does not end up very well. It's a very fizzy situation.
It's crazy stuff. It's amazing how much stuff, unforeseen stuff, that you're just a little innocent mom and pop making this little bundle or selling this little thing, and the next thing you're like, I don't even know what I did wrong. But
it is crazy. Let's see. So I'm going through a typical account health dashboard. Other categories, used sold as new and expiration dated issues, and defective is a new type of complaint they've added into that product condition customer complaint. Those are important to address in a timely manner. They can cause account suspension, not as often as like IP complaints and restricted product violations, but they certainly do have an impact. And so I always tell sellers those are like kind of some of the easier ones to clear. So clear them when you can. I'm trying to think and then of course the one that's on everyone's mind, other marketplace violations right now, aka fair pricing policy. I don't have good guidance on what you can do to make this stop, but I do have guidance on what you can do if it happens to you. What we have found is that it's best to follow Amazon's guidelines and take it down to the range they're recommending, and then set your repricer to keep raising the price until you get knocked off again, and then now you know what your ceiling is. And so then set your repricer ceiling to just below it, and then, assuming you're profitable, and then try to sell it. If it doesn't work, I would say close the listing, wait for a couple weeks and sell it when the market may have changed.
Yeah, I think that you just have to slowly, because sometimes we've got people dumping things and you have to slowly move it back up over time. And you know, we've been shut down and then having to move it up teeny tiny bit. Oh, whoever's not muted, can you mute?
So with that being said, that's what we're seeing mostly happening right now on Amazon in terms of suspensions. Key takeaways on avoiding suspensions is obviously checking the account health dashboard regularly. I recommend sellers check it at least once a week. Once a day is even better if you can. Some sellers, just a level of dedication that they want to put into it. When things pop up, deal with them promptly. Don't wait 3 months to decide to handle an IP claim, because we see it time and time again. It literally happened about a month ago with one of our sellers. They got an IP claim, didn't deal with it. They kept saying they were going to deal with it. They called me. I told them, hey, we need to deal with it. They said they'd do it. They didn't. And then they call us out of the blue last month. They go, oh, we just got a 72-hour notice for this IP claim. Can you help us now? And the problem with that is that when you get a 72-hour notice based on IP complaints, typically Amazon wants to see you resolve the IP complaint before they'll reinstate the account. So you're under a 72-hour clock to try to resolve that IP complaint. And if you don't get it resolved, you're usually going to get suspended for about a week or two until it's resolved. So.
One of the things I took up some notes too is, I think there's a rash of people just doing, and what can you do to protect yourself, or what can you do about it? A rash of IP complaints. Mm-hmm. So when you're selling on their brand, and all of a sudden you get this IP complaint, and it's like, well, that's not how this works. Like, how do you address that when it's justified and not justified, I guess?
I mean, so for our Seller Basics members, we handle it very cheaply. It's $149 flat rate, so that way you don't have to deal with it yourself. You can spend that time focused on more income producing activities than dealing with that.
Right.
So
you should probably, since you're mentioning that, I'll give them everybody an idea of what Seller Basics is. It's probably a good time, because I want them to understand when you're mentioning, because it's such a cool program, and I want everybody to have the context.
Thank you. So Seller Basics is a monthly subscription. It's a protection plan for sellers that was designed by me and Paul, and it's run by us to help sellers prevent suspensions in the first place. So the whole idea behind Seller Basics is that we don't want to profit when people get suspended. So it's all about proactive solutions. So it's $99 a month. That gives you unlimited consultations with any of the lawyers on our team. And we're working on building a network of lawyers in different specialty areas. So that way, if you've got an international tax question, you can talk to an international tax lawyer for 20 minutes at no charge about your solution. And if you decide to move forward with them, there's discounted rates that they can help you implement whatever you're discussing. So the whole notion behind this is that you shouldn't have to choose between feeding your family and getting proper legal advice when something's going on. So like if you get a cease and desist letter from Voorhees, you know who to call because you talk to us about it, and you're not just going on Facebook and asking, hey, what do I do with this? And reading people's responses of throw it in the trash, light it on fire, blah, blah, blah. And not a funny, but an interesting Voorhees story to share with you in a little bit that illustrates the point. But with that $99, you get substantial discounts on all the legal services we offer. And then also one of the things that's really unique about the program is that if your account gets suspended after 1 day of joining, it can't be suspended on the day you join, but if you join today and your account gets 72-hour notice or suspended tomorrow, there's no charge for us to write that appeal to get your account reinstated. That's a pretty unique benefit, because the whole goal is we don't want to profit off of people's misfortune. I've been there. I've been kicked when I'm down by other lawyers, and we don't want that to happen for our Seller Basics members. So. And
it's not just about suspension too, because you can talk to them about what do I need to do what do I have to get in line to do a trademark? How long does it take?
Amazon transparency. We can talk, I mean, we could talk about anything Amazon, anything business. You know, I have sellers that, you know, one of my Seller Basics members just hired their first employee, and we walked them through the steps of how do you hire someone, what agencies do you need to contact in their state to register for, you know, unemployment insurance and workers' comp insurance, you know, all that sort of stuff. And so it's really so much more than just Amazon and suspensions. But of course, complimentary account health reviews and Amazon calls are certainly a big draw for many sellers. And so the Voorhees story was actually interesting. A lot of times, you know, most people I'm sure have received Voorhees letters, so you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Voorhees, Sater, Seymour, and First or something, I don't know. It's a long piece. It's too long of a name. They shortened it to Voorhees. They are a law firm based in Columbus, Ohio, and they pioneered the art of sending scary letters to Amazon sellers to get them off of listings. And so their claim to fame is that they have a 97% success rate of removing quote unquote unauthorized sellers from listings. They do that by sending fake lawsuits and fake, yes, not really fake, but real cease and desist letters. And a lot of sellers will just drop off the listing. What's interesting is in the seller community, there's a lot of people that advocate for burning those letters when you receive them and just throwing them in the trash and never reading them. But they're always important to review because they do sometimes change. So for instance, what do I mean by they change? Well, we had a seller that reached out to us last year, and the very first line of their letter was, we purchased your inventory and determined it's counterfeit. Normal Voorhees letters start off with, you're not authorized to sell this product. So when you see language that's extremely definite and strong, like we purchased your product and it determined it's counterfeit, that's not like by accident. That's not part of the scare tactic. That's actually real. They can't legally say stuff that isn't true like that. So, you know, because the word counterfeit has legal implications. So they can't make false claims and claim you're selling counterfeit unless you're really selling counterfeit. So fast forward to how that case got resolved. What ended up happening is that seller didn't realize, but their new vendor that they had just switched to that was offering them about 40% off retail pricing or normal wholesale pricing was selling them pallets of counterfeit goods. So the products that Voorhees had bought were counterfeit. And so we were able to work with the seller to resolve that. And luckily the seller did not lose too much in that deal, but rather than face, potential criminal charges or, at the very minimum, significant damages for selling counterfeit products, we were able to work with Voorhees to give up their source, which is, which could have changed because the seller had initially posted it. They're already in Seller Basics, but they posted a copy of the letter in a Facebook forum and had like 30 people telling them to throw it in the trash. So
yeah, you shouldn't get your advice from Facebook per se.
Right.
Not your legal advice, definitely.
Yeah.
But all right, so we talked earlier this week. I got a assertion of counterfeit. And it's not, and my vendor is freaking out because they have Marvel, they have, all they do is take licensed stuff and put it on t-shirts and coffee mugs, and they make some product. And they never bought the product because I'm the only one that has it on Amazon, and I just sent it in. It's been live for more than like 3 days.
Yeah.
How do they get away with that? I mean, they have a whole business of doing this.
Right. So there are brand protection agencies out there. There's sellers out there. There's groups out there that make their living by filing false counterfeit claims on Amazon all day long. Unfortunately, Amazon does not have any way of fighting back against this yet that they've implemented. So put this in perspective, Amazon has what's called a safe harbor. And a safe harbor means that they're not liable for the products sold on their platform as long as they remove counterfeit products and infringing products in a timely manner. So in order to maintain that safe harbor, they have to have an avenue, aka brand registry, or the report infringement tool for brands to be able to report infringement. And then Amazon does not make value judgments. So if I go to Amazon and say that I'm a representative of Apple and this seller is selling counterfeit products, Amazon the only thing value judgment they're allowed to make is whether I really represent Apple. But short of that, they're not allowed to go in and evaluate whether my claim against Apple is real or not, because, or my claim that this is fake Apple product is real or not, because now they're taking a non-neutral stance. So instead, what they do is they suspend the products or the listing, sometimes the seller, and then and then from there, they give sellers the opportunity to seek a retraction or appeal it. Now, when the sellers appeal, that's why they always ask, give us a letter of authorization or an invoice, because they want some sort of proof that allows them to back up the decision if they decide to reinstate. But like Paul mentioned earlier, most of these IP claims are handled by people in foreign countries where, getting that coveted Amazon job is extremely difficult. And so they're not about to reinstate someone's listing unless there's extremely compelling evidence. So, because they don't want to lose their job for making a big mistake on reinstating someone who be reinstated. So that's where retractions come in. So, like for us, we always seek to get retractions because Amazon will gladly take a retraction and process it, because then it absolves them of any liability when it's the brand retracting the claim. It's much harder when you're going on the appeals route. And something interesting is that even if you successfully appeal an IP claim, Amazon can come back and make it active again in the future if another investigator re-reviews it and doesn't like it. Once you claim retracted, it's gone because it's retracted. They don't need to come back and reevaluate whether it was real or fake, or whether it was appropriate to retract or not retract, because they've already gotten that admission from the brand to rely on.
And I guess the problem, all right, I'm thinking this through. If I'm Amazon, because they don't care if it's bad for me, they care if it's bad for Amazon and what they look like, right? So that's really the only guiding rule. If it makes Amazon look bad, they'll do something about fixing whatever's making it look bad. Like if this brand protection agency is now going out and finding every single Barbie doll for Mattel and sending out thousands of letters, assumably they get paid per letter. I would imagine that would
usually per month. It's usually a flat rate subscription.
Oh, usually a flat rate. But they have to show some activity, I guess, that they're doing something useful. And then it turns out that, and then Amazon gets 200 Barbie complaints, and then 200 Barbie retractions, and they didn't require the brand to purchase a product. And to me, that seems like, maybe Paul, I could talk to CNBC about that one. I'm not doing that. But it seems like they would be opening themselves to, because you're accusing someone of a federal crime, counterfeit.
Right.
It's not like you're saying, hey, I think you mislabeled this by accident. Right. You're saying you're a felon.
Correct.
But you have no proof. Yeah.
So that's why, more and more sellers are turning to litigation as a means of recovering damages. The only downside is a lot of states have anti-SLAPP legislation. And so if you're in a state with anti-SLAPP, unfortunately, that can be viewed as a strategic lawsuit against public participation, aka SLAPP, and so that those lawsuits are barred by the anti-SLAPP rules. But for the sellers that are in states that are not anti-SLAPP, that there's a real opportunity to bring about cases and collect damages for those false claims.
Barbara, I'm just going to interrupt just to clarify a point. There are two types of infringement complaints, right? There's the counterfeit, which is what we're talking about, but then there's the nebulous, IP infringement complaint, right? Which is not a federal crime, right? It's infringement of a mark. And what we see a lot is a lot of people haphazardly file counterfeit. That is problematic, especially without a test buy. With infringement, we're in that gray area where it's like, does the first sale doctrine apply? Do they have a right to control their supply chain? Do they have a right to limit who can resell their products for reasons other than just, controlling the market? Like the best example is, I always use this example. It's like, if I have like a supplement that, can't be stored at a certain temperature, I may not want it to be in an FBA facility because it could rot and, make people sick. I may have a legitimate reason to want to control my supply chain in that instance. But if I'm, selling Ernest Goes to Camp on DVD, like that argument falls away pretty quickly, right? Like, what's the warranty? How many people claim warranty on Ernest Goes to Camp on DVD, right? Like if the Ernest Goes to Camp people, get angry about you being a reseller and claim infringement, that's a little bit BS. But that's the gray area where IP claims sort of fall into two buckets. There's the people who file, you're selling my product and I didn't want you to, counterfeit. That's a problem regardless, especially if you've sourced it from a truly legitimate source, not Goodwill, right? For example. But it's that IP, that infringement claim, that's the gray area. And that's, the smarter lawyers will play in that field. They'll know that's still a little bit gray. And that's where Seller Basics comes in, because the lawsuit argument it's not that you don't have a case, you may. It's a very complicated case. But, with our program, it's like, what is it, Jeff? Like $180 or something? How much is it to go after these brands and just, seek a collaborative retract? $149. I mean, it's sort of like a copay. I mean, if you think about Seller Basis, it's almost like insurance math, right? Like we're trying to, there's no way it costs us $149 to go after an IP. It costs us a hell of a lot more than that. But it's like a copay, and there's, we're playing sort of an insurance math game here, where we're just sort of, we're willing to pursue this. But the amount of time we can spend on a particular person's retraction can sometimes be hours. So you just think about a lawyer's hourly rate. You're paying your $99 a month and $149. It's a pretty damn good deal if you deal with this on a regular basis, if you're selling various brands, because the variety of complaints that come through, you've got your counterfeit, you've got your IP claims, you've got your letters from like Voorhees and K&L Gates, which, to Jeff's point, you don't just throw them away. I actually defended somebody earlier this year who got sued by Voorhees. People think Voorhees doesn't actually sue. It's the client's decision. It's not Voorhees' decision. Every client is different. If Voorhees gets engaged by clients, like, hell yeah, let's sue everybody. You may get sued. So that's why it's really good to have a program like Seller Basics, because you can call us up. One, you're probably not the first person to get that letter. We probably have some insight into what's going on in that particular brand, right? Or if you are the first person, we can help you strategically monitor the situation. Potentially, it depends on the scenario, and it depends on, sometimes it's just not worth fighting, right? Like if you have, 3 units of something that you bought at Marshall's, and you don't really have you don't intend to go deep on that particular brand, it may just be a matter of, mutually agreeing just to walk away and say, I'm not going to sell the product. You retract your complaint, leave me alone. But that's a negotiation. Brands don't like to retract. We sort of have to push a few buttons when we push for those retractions, and it's a process, and it's not always easy. In fact, it's often not easy, but you kind of have to, you have the power of a law firm behind you to kind of push those buttons. So anyway, I'm gonna get off the soapbox, but I just wanted to kind of plug in some gaps there. So
no, that's very true. Thank you.
I mean, I see a lot. I'm in the private label groups a lot, and I see some Facebook groups, and people are complaining, there's somebody selling my stuff, and they're infringing, and they don't know what they're talking about. They're yelling that they're infringing on, and how do I keep these people off my listing? Or people make a listing, and it's not their brand, it's not anything, it's wholesale, or it's, how do I keep people off my listing? And those are the ones that make me chuckle, because none of these, they're not our customers, they're not our listings, it's not our marketplace, it's all Amazon. So, it's kind of it's cute.
That's a good way to put it. For sure.
Cute. They're so cute. You do this for 10 years, and then you'll have the battle scars. But let me think. Anybody in the group have a question? Started to have a question? You see you putting your finger up. But let me see if I can unmute you. There, you should be good.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi.
Hey.
Okay, so I have a question. I have been procrastinating on changing my my tax information from my Social Security to the LLC,
Yes.
even though I had the LLC done. And as I'm trying to do this, I finally got it done yesterday, and they suspended everything. So then I had to go in and redo it back to my social security number and now it's active again. However, how do I enter an update to the EIN?
So that is a perfect seller basics call, because we actually have a procedure where we walk through, and it's multiple calls, because if you do it all in one day, you're going to get suspended every time, and they're going to sanitize the account and make you start from scratch, because you're going to set off all the fraud alarms. So
they're going to what?
They're going to sanitize. It's called sanitizing the account, which is when someone goes in and makes too many changes at once, they will actually suspend your account and then quote unquote sanitize, which is revert everything back, because they think that someone's hacked your account.
But I called them ahead of time to let them know.
Unfortunately, Amazon seller support is not linked to anything. So what they say is never can be relied upon.
I changed my address and held my breath for 3 days. All I did was change my address because we moved to a new warehouse. I'm like, please, 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 please.
So, okay, so what is the right way of doing it?
I would say, I mean, this is something we work with sellers one-on-one to make sure that they don't get suspended. So we do it, it's a multi-step process, usually spread out over a period of several weeks and several phone calls to make sure that the seller account doesn't get suspended. So it's there's no one-size-fits-all solution, and I can't give specific legal advice to non-clients. So I can't say specifically do this.
I can't. Yeah, and I can't tell you how frustrating that is. I deal with the same issue. Like when we're doing like our Amazon deals, we're selling. Like this is the most intense. Like 70% of what we bicker about, I feel like in the contract, is about like the uncertainty around, will Amazon accept what if Amazon doesn't accept the change? What then? What if Amazon suspends my account? What then? While we're trying to go through the tax interview. And to Jeff's point, there's just so many moving parts in that process. You really have to kind of look at it holistically and see, okay, like what you make sure everything matches, make sure the tax interviews go well. Like there's just so many elements that you have to look through to kind of, make sure you're answering the right questions to do that right. And take a cautious approach. There's not like a one size.
Right. It's saying that the information I'm entering is not matching the IRS, which how could that be?
So
it could be address issues. It could be a bunch of things. It could be, the tax ID might have been mistyped. We'd have to look at it. I mean, it's a perfect kind of seller, but like Jeff said, it is kind of like the perfect seller basics consultation. Something we encourage our members to contact us before you do this, and let's get a plan in place to go through it. And we kind of can, as Jeff does, is like account health review, kind of look into your account and see what's going on and help you through the process, because it's messy. It just is.
Okay.
It really is.
You did exactly the right thing. It just didn't work this time. Calling you.
Yeah.
The logic is to call and tell them ahead of time. The logic is to then make the change and then point to the case. But sometimes it just doesn't work. Like Amazon is just a bunch of towers with people that are in charge of one aspect of Amazon, and they very rarely cross over to another tower.
Right.
They're sanitizing. Your account is not suspended right now, is it? Or are you shut down, or you're still selling?
No. So it was shut down all day. All of my listings were stranded all day, and I sold nothing. And I finally came home to get to this, and I redid the interview, just put it back to my social security number, and it said recognized, and the listing started populating again.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's Amazon. They unfortunately they have to have those filters to prevent bad actors from obviously doing things on Amazon, and so a lot of times good people get caught up in filters designed that because it's just an overactive filter that's
when is your Dex disbursement, Sarah?
It is I don't know if I can see it on here. I can only see it on the app, right?
It's on your under the payments
Payment
tab.
schedule. Yeah. When was your last one? That's a better question.
Yeah, right.
So it's probably two. Are you on regular daily payout, or are you on weekly or biweekly?
Oh, bi-weekly.
So
I think it's like one of the next couple days.
So that alone could be one of the many problems. That's like I'm saying, when we do M&A deals, like we time closings so that we're doing those things after disbursement. Like that's just one example. Like because the flags are even higher because they're afraid hackers are coming in to basically divert your payment to some other account. So if you've got, you know, disbursement coming in the next few days, that could be one of the many different triggers that can, you know, create that extra scrutiny. So it's not an easy process, but you know, it's doable.
Okay, I mean, I'm sure it happens to almost everybody, as most people start out as just themselves.
Yeah.
Right? So like everybody has to do
like
this.
everybody starts out with their social
no,
security number, and they're not a
allowed to
professional
do
seller,
it.
and then
It's totally a law. Like it's not lawful. It's a BSA compliant thing. You're allowed to change your affiliation from proprietorship to limited liability company. It's just, you know, they have their their fraud flags up, and various checks that they do. And like Jeff said, I don't actually really fully follow the process. I rely on Jeff whenever clients come to me and say, how are we going to do this? You know, there's some aggregators even, and they frustrate me because it's like, I've seen when we migrate accounts in an M&A deal, it's like, and we're moving, you know, the buyer is assuming the account, which is already a violation of the BSA, and a whole nother legal can of worms that we get into in our deal negotiation. There's at least one aggregator out there. It takes like over 30 days to migrate an account. So Jeff's not wrong in his assessment. Like he's, you know, they take 30 days. They rely on, you know, a consulting firm that follows the same logic that we pretty much, I mean, pioneered in this space, I think years ago when we first started helping sellers with this issue. In that, you know, you just take your time and you go through a process, and you know, you kind of have to, but there's a lot of moving parts. So, you know, I don't mean to sound nebulous, but we just don't want to give people like answers and then like, oh, I did the same thing you just said, and then they get suspended and they're like, oh, you promised that you told us this would work. It's like, you know, it's always the issue when you're a lawyer talking on a webinar. It's like, you don't want to, we're not giving legal advice here. We're just having general discussions.
Right. Okay.
It sounds like you're getting to be in a better place though, if you actually can see things populating. And
yeah, obviously
it could have been a timing issue. Maybe the federal thing wasn't updated at the time that they looked and they matched. And
no, I mean, the LLC was formed in January. I just was kind of procrastinating on getting this done, and then I tried in April and it said that it wasn't matching, and then I called the person that helped me set up the LLC, and they're like sending me pictures that everything matches. And then I was like away for a while, and then I was just trying again today or yesterday. But in between, I called them and said, please make notes to my account that I'll be changing this so that it's not causing any stir, that I'm going to be changing this to an EIN.
Yeah, that's exactly the right thing to do. So that's, you know.
Did you choose multiple things, Sarah, at the same time? Like not just the EIN, but address, anything else?
No, it just said that it just came up underneath the EIN number. It said that the information was not matching the IRS.
Yeah, we'd have to talk about that and figure out why it's not matching, because they do have a database that they check with the IRS. So something's not matching. So we'd have to figure out what that is and why that's happening.
Okay. All right. It's very frustrating.
It's a beginning of a long journey of frustration. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You will be frustrated often and regularly. Bruce, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. I was waiting to make sure Sarah was done, and I apologize. My video is not working, but you can hear me okay, I assume.
Yes.
I'm a small time seller, and I just sell like one-off used books and things like that. But over the last few months, I got bunch of suspected intellectual property violations. When I say a bunch, 10 of them since February, dealing with some VHS tapes and some puzzles I put up, dealing with like Sesame Street and Disney and things like that. And quite frankly, I mean, the value of these things were so little. I just said, okay, well, the heck with them, and I just put them in the donation pile. But I'm wondering though, having done that, since these are just one-offs and the listings were removed, is it possible that I should have done something more to protect my account than just say, okay, if you guys don't want it, I'll just let it go?
So for suspected IP complaints, those are like the soft ones we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
So the good news about those is that in general, you can usually fix that by deleting the listing. And so if you're not going to sell it, you're just going to donate it, then I advocate for sellers just delete the listing from your catalog and move on. Don't worry about it any further.
That's what I think. Well, it said listing removed, but I should go into the closed inventory and actually find the listing and delete it as well?
Yes, because they've removed the listing, but then on their side, it show it as inactive, blocked, inactive, closed.
Okay, so I'll just go in and I'll delete the. As I said, it was pretty simple, but so I'll just go ahead and do that, and then we'll be done with it. Thank you very much.
Definitely. Yeah, you're welcome.
That's all I had to ask. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Anybody else have any questions? You need me to unmute them?
I do, and if I can ask the question.
Sure, hi, Katie.
Hey, Katie.
My video, I'm trying ever since we started, but I can't figure it out. Something is wrong with my videos. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'll just ask like this. I managed to get my first cease and desist warning yesterday by email, and nothing on Amazon, nothing from my Seller Central, just email from Ghirardelli chocolate. I was on a couple of listings selling multi-packs and singles, and all they're saying, just get out from listings, don't stop selling. They also say this is last warning, we warn you a couple of times, but I can't find any email. It's the only one that not in a junk mail, nothing. It's just, that's what I see. What do? I deleted everything. I'm like, I don't want to do anything, but I promised them I send them respond. I'm sorry. I do retail arbitrage. The Amazon let me, and I thought I could. If I can't, no problem. And I deleted everything. Now you guys mentioned check other marketplaces. I'm not even sure how to do that. I'm gonna check differently. Is there anything I have to do besides deleting listings and make sure you never sell?
I mean, well, I would definitely check the other marketplaces. That's a good starting point. This kind of falls in line with what Sarah was asking. I can't give specific legal advice, especially in a public forum, on what to do with the cease and desist letter. So I'd say if this is a perfect thing, we talk with sellers literally every day on the complimentary calls to discuss what to do in their particular circumstance, but I can't give specific legal advice for that sort of scenario.
I can. No, I really can't, but I can pretend. I do have one question. Who was the email from? What was the email address?
It's from directly. It's really them, Ghirardelli. I think they own Ferrero and Lind.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had all three of them.
Gotcha.
In the past. Okay, all right, guys. I'm a small seller. I wish I could afford having your legal support, but maybe one day.
Yeah, I mean, we have sellers of all sizes, so it just, we have sellers that are just starting out that work with us, and then we have sellers that are doing $20 million a year that are in the program. So it's it really is a program designed for all sellers. So
okay, and what kind of support you're offering to small sellers?
Mainly, it's the unlimited, complimentary consultations with lawyers. So when you get things like the cease and desist letter, we give you guidance on, whether to respond or how to respond. We offer complimentary account health reviews where we log into your Amazon account with you and point out what could be issues that could cause you to get suspended. If you're suspended and you've been a member for at least 1 day, there's no charge for us to write that appeal for you to get reinstated or the 72-hour warning notice. And then there's just discounts on all the services that we offer that are designed around what sellers would need. So
that sounds wonderful. We have to be members. You mentioned monthly subscription to get such support.
Right. Yeah. So it's $99 a month and then there's just the different copays on top of that for whatever's going on.
Okay.
But there's no copay for suspension, and I think that's like it's such an incentive. And I'll tell you a story. It's this time last year, our clients were inundated with price gouging cases. Attorneys general were going after our members for price gouging with subpoenas and whatnot. And I was sort of handling the government side of it, like dealing with the AGs, but at the same time, all their accounts were getting suspended for price gouging by Amazon. And at the time, we were handling these suspensions. We had just launched the program, and because these people were kind of signing up for the first time, there was a copay. It was like $750 for an account suspension to deal with price gouging. Our competitors were charging $5,000. They were if there was any price gouging going on during the COVID pandemic on Amazon with respect to our clients, it was the ones who paid $5,000 for account suspension assistance. Totally unnecessary. What I loved about the program, account suspension, it's like you're at the most vulnerable state. You just want answers, you want solutions, and there's a market out there to take advantage of that. And we just
it's a trend today.
Yeah, and so our solution is, look, it's $99 a month. If you get suspended, like, doesn't matter if it takes us an hour, if it takes us 10 hours, like, we'll do what we can. Everything shy of like litigation, arbitration, we're going to do what we can to get your account back online. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It's your $99 a month. That's it for that moment, because we really understand how vulnerable you are. And as Jeff said at the beginning, what I love about the program is how it's aligned. We're aligned with you. Like, we don't want you, because we're using sort of insurance math to make this program work. It's like, we don't want you to get suspended, right? We're the opposite. Like, we're not giving you suspension tips and then waiting for you to get suspended so you can come to us and we can say, oh, that'll be $500 for the initial phone call, $2,000 for the first POA, another $1,000 for the follow-up POA, and if we have to send an email to Jeff Bezos or the executive team, if it's even still a thing, we're going to charge you by the hour. Like we're writing a Supreme Court brief or something. It's the polar opposite. We're aligned with you. We don't want you to get suspended. We do better when you don't. So, that $99 a month, in our opinion, it's an insurance style. It's not insurance. We're not indemnifying your losses, in terms of when you're actually not being able to sell, but we're indemnifying your costs. Yeah,
it's peace of mind.
And just the opportunity to talk to us, because I always say, I'm not people always oh, you worried about competition from other attorneys. No, I don't think there are enough attorneys in this space. What I'm worried about is competition from LegalZoom. What I'm worried about is, people getting advice about limited liability companies from, people who have no business talking about limited liability companies, or from blog posts, right? And those are questions. That's, whether you even hire us to set up your LLC or not, you can certainly call us up. It's included in your monthly membership fee, to talk about, why does it matter? What are the things you look out for? What does it matter what state you're in? And sometimes it does. It depends what your goals are and what your interests are in terms of why you're setting up a limited liability company. So you can have those conversations, get that guidance that, really, I think at the end of the day, the whole idea of this program is what we recognize, a lot of our clients come to us with issues that were totally preventable. If I had known this client, before they made that very important decision that caused them to be in this really tough situation, I could have told them, no, don't do that. But, everybody's so afraid to call a lawyer because they think, oh, lawyers are going to charge me, thousands of dollars. No, we're $99 a month. The call's free. There's no bill. We don't unless you pay us a retainer, you're not getting a bill. You're paying them $9 a month. That's it. Like that's, so you go with that advice, and that's your advice. That's advice for you and only you, based on your situation, because it does matter. Everyone's situation is different. I know people don't think that's the case, but it actually is. Your decision tree is going to be different than other folks in this call. So it's really, we've built a law practice, Jeff and myself, that has really designed to cover you from entry to exit. Like we want to be available for our clients when they're starting out, as they grow, and certainly upon exit. It's a really kind of dynamic model that we've created so that we can be there for all types of clients, not just ones who have multi-million-dollar private label businesses, because we're seller advocates at heart, because we've all been sellers. Jeff's been a seller, I've been a seller, and that's what we want to be advocates for you. So we don't want people to be out.
Someone must love us, because Amazon does not.
No, they do not.
And the state of California does not.
No, they do not. Nor does the state of Pennsylvania right now.
Yeah, how's that going?
It's good. It's good. We're waiting on a decision. I was in Harrisburg. I was probably driving right by your neighborhood, because I went straight down 78 to Harrisburg a couple of weeks ago for a court date. I'm feeling good about the case. We're waiting on a ruling. Judge knows that there's a deadline of June 8th for Online Merchants Guild members, and he's trying to get us a response before then. So, and I suspect he's trying to get us a response in such a way where
give him like a two sentence what the lawsuit is.
So Pennsylvania is basically saying that any Amazon seller who uses FBA needs to register for Pennsylvania taxes. And that includes income tax. It could include sales tax if you have a Shopify website. If you sold on Amazon prior to 2018, you could owe back taxes. But thankfully, by registering with the Pennsylvania Department of Revenue, they'll forgive those back taxes. You just have to agree to pay income taxes prospectively. May not sound like such a big deal, paying a bunch of income tax to Pennsylvania. But really the trend, this is like a test case. This isn't just Pennsylvania. We're looking at this as like, this is every state. And we've already have clients who are getting the same thing from California now on the income tax side. If an Amazon seller has to file income tax returns in every state, forget about it. Just for using FBA, like nobody can use FBA, because you're talking about, I don't know, Shocker, what do you think it would cost to file income tax returns in every state? I mean, and I know you're cheap, but like, even at your prices, I mean, it's not a cheap endeavor if you have to file multi-state income tax returns in all 50 states.
Plus the sales tax returns, it's just going to be nightmare.
Yeah, it just basically pushes you out of the market, and that's our point. It's illegal, it's unconstitutional, it violates a number of federal laws, state laws, and just basic constitutional principles. And so we're challenging the demand that you have to register by just simply because you used FBA.
Yeah, that's 50 annual reports as well.
Yeah, 50 annual reports at hundreds of dollars a pop. Local income taxes, the Philadelphia income tax, you've got the Allegheny income tax, you got you've got multiple income taxes in Colorado, right? Plus sales tax. I mean, it'll never end. I mean, I used to work for really big companies, and Walmart, Amazon, they have hundreds of people in their tax department to handle that. Our typical client, it's just the client, right? It's a client, maybe an employee too, right? They're not positioned to handle that kind of compliance burden, nor should they have to. And so we're challenging. So this registration demand that Pennsylvania sent out to a number of Amazon sellers is we believe is illegal, unlawful, and so we challenged it in federal court in Pennsylvania, and we're pushing that agenda, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, we're optimistic. We feel like the court date went well. The judge definitely saw what was going on, and if we do lose, it'll likely be some technical jurisdictional issue, not because we actually are required to do it. But we're pushing that jurisdictional issue because we believe that the federal court is the place to have this case heard because of the national concern. Yeah. Exactly, and the fact that like if Pennsylvania says it's this way, then so can every other state, and that's a problem. Right. And that's really the issue. Right. It's not just if we're just Pennsylvania, right? If we all had to file tax returns in our home state and just Pennsylvania, I think we could all survive. But this is a this is a, you know, floodgate scenario where, you know, if Pennsylvania gets their way, then, you know, watch out for Wisconsin, Washington, Wyoming, sorry, not Wyoming, New Jersey, New York,
Jersey,
Pennsylvania. Yeah. I mean, Massachusetts, I mean, forget about it. And, you know, it's going to suck to be an Amazon seller starting out. And we're just trying to protect that element of
I mean, they got the sales tax. I mean, that was the biggest coup in history.
Oh,
right?
totally. That was a total coup. It was a total sham.
Yeah,
Right.
and they got the sales tax from left, right, backwards, and front. My state's still crying. They don't have any money, even though they just got, what, $100 million or something in sales tax. And I'm like, I didn't hear anybody say that. You got this big boon. Now all these people who used to chase sales tax people have nothing to do.
Well, they should chase Amazon, is our opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Amazon owes the state of New Jersey, as well as many other states, a substantial amount of money. And that's our position. It's like this, you know, the federal law, the state law, however you slice it, those sales were Amazon sales. It's really funny because it's like, you know, why didn't Amazon collect sales tax for the last few years? Is because they said that we're not a store, we're just a mall, right? You know, that's all we are. We're just a mall. We don't have any control. I'll read you this. You'll find this amusing. This is from, this is Amazon's quote in response to the lawsuit that was filed by the District of Columbia. It's really, really funny. This is what Amazon said. This is why the District of Columbia sued Amazon because they claim that Amazon's fair pricing policy is basically price fixing, and they're trying to basically I
just saw that.
It causes, if Amazon creates a fair pricing policy, it causes Amazon sellers to raise their prices on other platforms, and it basically causes, you know, eBay sellers and Walmart sellers to pay higher prices. Here's Amazon's quote in response to that lawsuit. An Amazon spokesperson said Tuesday in a statement, "The DC Attorney General has it exactly backwards. Sellers set their own prices for the products they offer in our store." Emphasis, our store. Amazon takes pride in the fact that we offer low prices across the broadest selection. And like any store, we reserve the right not to highlight offers to customers that are not priced competitively. The relief the AG seek would force Amazon to feature higher prices to customers, oddly going against the core objective of the antitrust law. So what does that mean? It means that all the BS arguments that Amazon has made for why they're not responsible when, let's say, a hoverboard catches on fire and burns down somebody's house because it's a 3-piece seller, or why they didn't collect sales tax and put the blame on the seller, that whole argument was, we're not a store. But as you're hearing, for antitrust purposes, it's the opposite. They're saying we are a store. So it's really it's really just talking out of both sides of their mouth at this point, and quite amusing, and something we pointed out to the antitrust committee in their original report on Amazon's business practices, which, not to brag, we were the most cited. I was the most cited person in that report, by the way. So, you know, so we really do advocate.
That's not bragging. You're not bragging.
No, it's just, it's all your information. It's all your stories. I'm just telling you, right? Like, I'm just sharing, you know, it was all the data we collected from you guys. We just get to be a voice without having to expose who you are. And that's pretty cool to see the antitrust committee citing our stuff as like the top source for how crappy Amazon is when they treat their sellers, in terms of the way they treat their sellers. Yes.
May I ask? We met at a conference last year, and we talked about how California is okay with us paying sales tax when we do RA, but then they're taking it out again through Amazon and not returning it when filing these taxes. Are they going to start returning it? Was there any outcome on that? You said you were meeting with some.
Yeah, they told me no. They just said like, no, like you need to have a liability and net against. We could probably file a challenge to that, but their position at the moment is like tough luck.
Is that when, sorry, you're saying when you go do RA and you pay sales tax at the register, you can't get it back?
Yes.
You can't get it back. The only way you can get it back is to have taxes owed to the state of California that you can net against.
That you can play it against. But do they have, in New Jersey, we have tax exempt forms? Do they just not have those there?
No, they do, but you know, a lot of stores
they won't take
them.
Oh, joy.
So I think it's going to be competitive.
Bigger retailers would like to not, like there's certain
Yeah.
places won't know of us, like Target and
Mhm.
let's see, I don't know,
That's a countrywide
Under
policy.
Armour, Nike, Adidas.
Yeah.
I thought Nike took them, but
Nike generally does.
unless you're using a gift card.
I don't know.
That's what I've always heard. I've always heard Nike will take your resale certificates at the outlets unless you're using a gift card, because the implication when you use a gift card is it's a gift for someone. It's not for resale.
Yeah, I've successfully used the Nike, the tax exempt form at Nike stores.
Is that for the shoes you're wearing, Jeff?
It's for the polo shirt I'm wearing.
He's kidding, folks. Don't do that.
Do I have any other questions? So we're a little over our time. Can you guys tell us how anybody can reach you?
Yeah, if you have questions, you want to chat one-on-one, Jeff at sellarbasics.com is the best way to reach me. So
Okay.
Jeff,
I'll post that in the group, guys, too.
Jeff, spelled kind of like Jeff Bezos. I'm his better half. I'm just kidding.
Okay. Okay. You don't want to be Jeff Bezos to these guys or any relation. Come and find
He
you.
is the Jeff you want to email when you get to
Yes.
the end of it.
Yeah, that's the
Not,
good
you don't
one.
want to email the other Jeff. It's not going to work out well. So
All right. Well, that should work. And Paul, how can they get you the same way?
yeah, Paul at ecom.law, Paul at sellarbasics.com. I think it all goes to the same place.